The planet is restless, Captain. They want their podcast. And they shall have it. I'll beam down to the surface. You have the bridge. Captain, that is illogical. These are Trek fans. They will challenge and dissect your knowledge with great emotion. It is a mission fraught with danger, peril, and grave risk. Suggestions? Send in the red shirts.
All hands, this is the captain. I have been confined to quarters because I am unfit to serve for duty.
It's damn straight.
Well, I'll tell you why I am unfit to serve for duty, because we have another Star Trek short trek, and I just can't keep doing this. I don't know if Khan put one of those SETI alpha eels in my ear and I'm not acting on all of my faculties, but we'll get into it. But just know that the captain is in quarters. Craig, you have the bridge.
All right, finally.
I'll be, well, yeah, you can have the bridge.
Some respect.
Yeah. Let's just get into it. We have a new Star Trek short trek. What was it? It was called The Brightest Star. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It featured one of my favorite characters, who has become one of my favorite characters. I think it's more because of the performance of Doug Jones. You got to think, that guy is under layers of makeup, and he still manages to convey emotion and pathos and humor when Saru does have bouts of humor. Through all of that makeup, I just think he does such a fantastic job in portraying that character. Would you agree?
I do agree. Yeah, he's a very good actor, and as you said, under all of that makeup, latex or whatever it is, he's conveying those emotions. It's good stuff.
I mean, it's got to be the most uncomfortable thing. There are no nostril holes directly where his nostrils would be, and he's wearing these contacts, and it's just fantastic. So yeah, we've centered on Saru, and let's discuss. Let's just discuss the events of what happens. Okay. Would you like to take the con on that, Captain Craig? Well, I called you Captain Craig. I went too far. Number one, First Officer Craig.
Well, it starts off where we see Saru's home planet, presumably with his family.
Planet Kaminar, called Kaminar. Can I just say, I love the fact that it's not Kelpia, which I thought was, I hate the fact that, on all these Star Trek planets, the aliens all have one designation that's based off the name of the planet.
Right.
Yes.
Then you see that there's some light and some people gather around and they get taken. And I think that they think they're dying, but I think we get the sense that they're taken to be slaves. And Saru starts questioning it, and for some unknown reason, something falls off the spaceship or falls off the transporter thing, whatever.
It's a Baul spaceship, I believe, or Baul, right? And
then I'm going to get into where I thought the plot holes were, but anyway, Saru takes this piece which he's not supposed to take, and he somehow re-engineers it to be a communication device, right, and contacts Starfleet and waits for a response, and then Captain Jojo comes to pick him up in a shuttle.
Well, she's just a lieutenant, I think, at that point.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
And then she comes down and he just makes the decision to leave. Right. And he goes off with her. So that's the general high-level plot of the story.
So basically, for those of you who remember the movie E.T., it was basically E.T. going into the forest and creating that phone device to phone home.
Yeah.
Waiting for the spaceship. Of course.
Now that you put it that way.
Of course, E.T. comes from a far advanced civilization where one could take those components, and it's believable that he could do that. But, all right, so, let's get right into it, Craig. Give me your thoughts, your musings, your ruminations on this episode.
So here's my take on it. It was a near, to me, I enjoyed it. It was a near perfect story. The problem was the plot hole in the story, which I suppose is not too bad because they don't really come out and say that Saru and his people have no technology or anything like that. When the episode first starts, because they're living in some kind of camp, you just think, well, they've got no tech. They're not educated, but
Right.
obviously they are, because he manages to take this piece of space junk and turn it into a communicator somehow. So he must have some knowledge. That was the one plot hole for me, that he managed to turn a piece of space junk into a communicator of some kind, and it just happened to fall off the spaceship. But otherwise, the rest of the story was a classic and quite emotional story of someone who didn't want to accept their lot in life and get taken away to get killed, as he thought, and he wanted to do better things, and he gets rescued, and he makes a decision to leave his family and go off.
Now, how do you arrive at they were being the Kelpians were being beamed up to be slaves?
Maybe they weren't. I'm just trying to remember some of the previous Discovery episodes. They spoke about the Kelpian, and I thought they said they were slaves, but maybe they said they were food.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but what I recall is that the Kelpians, they have the threat ganglia because they were prey to a predator species. And so I was wondering, when we talk about when I found out that they were going to center the next episode of these short treks on his home planet, I was thinking, wow, this is going to be exciting. We're going to see the species that hunts down the Kelpians. So
Right.
I'm not sure if when he's talking about they are subject to a predatory race or species, is it this Baul species they're talking about?
It doesn't really make much sense, because they don't even see them as predators. They have an agreement with them where they allow to take some of them every now and again, or on regular basis.
Exactly. So, and they made the point that everyone other than Saru is content with this setup. It's kind of like in the Old Testament when, who was it? Abraham was willing to sacrifice his son.
Right.
It was just something you did, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. Yeah. Build a bonfire and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Get the biggest knife. I'm like, take a sheep, help knock yourself out. But so that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I watched it twice. I thought maybe they were being beamed up by Starfleet, and then Lieutenant Georgiou decides, I'm gonna make this journey in person and to meet Saru. But we're correct. I think I'm correct in thinking that no, that had nothing to do with Starfleet, the circle of Kelpians, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I knew right from the beginning that it wasn't Starfleet. I think they made it pretty clear that it was. I think they named the race. So.
Right. Well,
But,
see, I thought that the naming of the race was just back in our history, they called the sun Ra, or they had names for things up in the sky they couldn't explain.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
you were going to say.
I think part of the plot hole for me, and the thing that made it difficult to get past that point, is that Saru takes this thing and he makes a radio or communication device, and he somehow knows what frequency to put it on, or whatever subspace channel. And do you know what I mean? That's the part that was just
I am
didn't
not
work for me.
I'm not defending this at all, because I was going to point out he also manages to program it in English.
Right.
But, putting that aside, I just assume, you're right. It is totally ridiculous and implausible given that culture being pre-warp and all. But I just assume that he just put it on a widespread frequency, hoping anyone would capture it. Not necessarily putting it out for Starfleet or the Federation to pick up.
Right. I suppose you're right. He didn't even know who the Federation was. He just somehow understood how to do that. That's why I said I think the story should have explained it a bit more. They should have gone in to show that, yes, they do have some tech. Because they just showed them living in Hudson or whatever, very simple housing. But obviously Saru must have been taught something to know what that was and how to use it. He was a touch interface. He knew how to do that.
Right.
So it unfortunately didn't spoon feed us, but we had to make that assumption, I think.
It reminded me a little bit of, we did a review of The Inner Light, the Next Generation episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you and Big Sexy made the legitimate point that it didn't make sense that they would have the tech to build this this machine that could create this hologram, essentially. Yet they're firing off fuel rockets into the sky.
Yeah.
And, another thing I noticed, I couldn't help but laugh, was that I made this comment on the show we did, the episode we did about the Star Trek nitpicks.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my nitpicks was every time we go down to a society or an alien race, they all talk like they're priests or monks. Father, if I become of age for the Vaharia, or whatever that thing was called, will I be taken to Father? Yes, you will, son. And you will be happy. It is the great beyond, what is it? The great balance. And you will, it will do what it does, and you will be happy. As we all, get the out of here. I get so sick of that. I just want to go down, like I said, I want to go down and hear some people saying, what the hell's going on here? What?
Yeah.
Huh? I got to do what? They're going to beat what? No. I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah.
You know
what I did like? Just to jump ahead to what I did like. Well, I liked the whole episode, actually, but what I really thought was cool is and maybe they've done it in another Star Trek episode, another series that maybe I just missed or forgot, but they showed the Universal Translator working.
Oh, well, that
was cool.
I like that, but they've done that. I'm pretty sure they've done that. They did that during the first season. Maybe not with Saru or any. I know they did it with the Klingons, didn't they?
Maybe not remembering, but throughout all of the other Star Trek series, you've just heard aliens speaking English,
right.
And you had to assume that they were. Well, I mean, they always said there was Universal Translator, but now you actually heard it working in real time. Her communicator was translating for her.
But you know what? I'm sure they did it in the first season of Discovery, but I'm 99% sure that they did it in Enterprise as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure they did it there. But I love that. Yeah, I love when you get to hear it makes the species seem more three-dimensional and real, you know?
Mm-hmm. It does.
All right. So did you have any other notes about this episode?
No. Just as I said, overall I really enjoyed it, with the one plot hole or maybe not explained properly. It was a good episode.
Okay. Now it's my turn. And now you're going to see why I'm confined to quarters. Let me just get my tea Earl Grey hot from the replicator. I'm going to sit back and let's get started.
Uh-oh.
These short treks are just not for me. They're not for me. Okay?
All right.
Maybe I thought I was an art, an art appreciating person. Is that right? Is that the way to say that? Someone who could appreciate subtlety. But I guess when it comes to Star Trek, and there's so many unanswered questions after seeing 13 episodes of the series, I don't have the patience for subtlety. And when I haven't seen an episode since, when did this go off the air? Was it this past? I thought it was last October.
The first episode of the shorts.
No. When did the season finale of the Discovery air?
Oh.
Do you recall?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, that says something in of itself.
Okay.
If I haven't seen it that long, I and you're giving me these 15-minute, one-offs, it's a waste of my time if this is the storytelling that you're going to give me. I don't. Okay. Let me get back on track. Let me course correct. Okay. So this short trek had the most potential. I think it had the most potential. It is not an original story by any shape or form, but it is a tried and true story where you have the person who strives to be greater than the sum of his parts, who wants to live beyond the limitations that have been set upon him. Craig, how many times have we seen that story? Not in just Star Trek, but in classical lit or in movies, TV, period. We've seen it all the time.
Many times.
And the reason we see that so many times is because each time it works. I feel.
Yeah.
So that's what this episode had going for it in the offset. But, okay, the first mistake as far as I'm concerned is whenever you start something off with a voiceover, I get kind of turned off. Because what the voiceover says to me is that we don't have the wherewithal to be able to tell you or show you everything that we need to establish the story. So we're going to put it in a voiceover where you just have to imagine, you have to picture in your mind what the voiceover is telling you and just accept it and go with it. Now, right. I'm not saying the voiceover never works. I mean, the captain's log, that's fine. It's a mechanism or a device that gets me caught up in 10 seconds or less. Sometimes a voiceover works very well, but here, I mean, why? I don't know that it was necessary. I'm not going to say it wasn't necessary, but it just had a tone that kind of just made me tune out a little bit. I knew I was going to have to just accept what the voice is telling me and just move on. You've already pointed out the implausibility of Saru taking this device and programming it in English to send a transmission up into space. Okay. But I could kind of let that go. Maybe he's a mutant. Maybe that's from my comic book X-Men readers. He just has a mutant ability to understand electronics, even though they're living in grass huts, like you said. Okay. And they're speaking like they're actors in a Shakespeare ensemble. That's fine. That's fine. I want to. Well, and there's also the thing with the Baul, if I'm pronouncing that right. I wanted to see some predators, and I'm trying to determine if I don't mean predators a la the movie. I mean,
that would have been fun,
right?
Yeah.
But this whole thing about they go and sit down in a circle and they're beamed away. It just seems too easy, doesn't it? It seems like it's too easy to I don't know. You know what I'm saying, Craig?
I do know what you're saying, but it is part of that many classic stories where a race of beings will just accept that this is the way it is. As you said, you pointed out in the Bible where there's stories of, God tells you to go and kill your son. So you're just like, okay, cool, I'm going to do that because that's what God said. And who am I to question that? And so I got the feeling that this species just doesn't question anymore. They're like, there's a higher power out there. They're telling us, come line up, come sit in a circle and we'll take you away. And they do it because if they don't, there's consequences.
Well, here's my thing. Well, here's my question. What do you think the likelihood, and I guess this question applies to all of these short treks, what do you think the likelihood is that they're going to explain what we're seeing in the context of what we're talking about now, that will explain who the Baal are, what that tower was, what's happening to the Kelpians that disappear? Do you think there's a likelihood they will explain that? And then you could say, will they explain who the guy in Calypso was? Will they explain who the alien in Runaway was? What do you think?
I am hoping that they do. I'm hoping that these will be explored further in the series. I really hope so. If they don't explore it in the series, then these are already just a waste of time. Even though I like this episode specifically. But they are just a waste of time, and somebody's just writing some cool stories just to make you pay your $30 a month for CBS All Access or whatever it is, $10 or whatever.
Right.
Making because really, I think it was September when Discovery finished, and so now he has all of us paying our $10 a month for the rest of the year, whereas Discovery's only coming back in January or February, and but we are having to pay for 15 minutes.
Right.
I don't use CBS All Access for any other show but Star Trek.
Well, not to that, I have to say I am watching Wings, even though I paid for the box set.
Okay.
And I will start watching Family Ties. So
Again, all right. But you know what I mean is
No,
that
of course.
if they
yes.
don't explore it, then this is just what we all thought it was, which was a mechanism to make us pay the money.
Right. And I don't want to think that, Craig, because you're dealing with a revered property.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just doing this to... Although, if you look at Runaway, the way they treated Tilly's mom, I can't imagine if they want to bring that character back that she's going to be like that.
Right.
So that's scary. All right. Now, here's the problem, the real problem I have with the episode. Up until this point, I could accept what I saw, even though I didn't like the whole thing about not knowing who the Baul are and this whole thing with Saru knowing how to program this thing. But what I saw next, I sat there, mouth agape. Agape meaning like slack-jawed, hanging open, catching flies, if you will. So you have this shuttlecraft, from what I'm going to assume is Discovery, landing on the planet, and out steps Georgiou, who was a lower-ranking officer. She's not captain yet. I'm pretty sure she wasn't captain at that time.
Mm.
And she, first of all, that abrogates any form of first contact I've ever seen in Star Trek.
Mm.
Not only that, she says basically that, well, we could tell that you are special, just you're special. Not because he hid the damn thing and no one else had a crack at programming it. She assumes that he's special because he programmed it, when in actuality someone else might have, if given a shot, had known about it other than their family. They might have been able to program it too. They don't investigate that. She says, you're special, so I want you to come with me. Okay, is this how Starfleet recruits their cadets now? It's not a thing where they sign up like we saw in the Abrams first Star Trek in 2009, where people go voluntarily. And then when Saru says, will I be able to see my family again? She says no. No, right. You can't come back. So let's examine this for a second. Starfleet sent someone out to go grab this one alien who was able to send a transmission into space, and they have no way of knowing if the rest of the planet has that same intellect, even though none of them should have the capability. But if one of them has the capability, who's to say others don't? Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're going to yank this guy, granted voluntarily, they're going to take him off of a planet that has been charted by the Federation and say, we're never coming back here again. Mm. What the sense does that make? And then on top of that, Saru doesn't even know who she is, doesn't know anything about the Federation. And that's established because he says, early on, is there anything, something like, help me out here. He says, is there anything beyond the great beyond, or is there anything else out there that we don't know about? And the father says no, basically says no. It's just the what was it? What was it called? The Great Order?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So rather than giving Saru a chance to make an informed decision, she says, either you're hopping on this train now, you're not coming back, or I'm taking off. See ya.
Yep, I see your point.
Is that how Star Trek works?
So a few things that might make you believe it a bit more is I got the sense that Saru's father was like the high priest and he was really responsible for collecting the space junk. Because remember, Saru saw him putting it away and said, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, sometimes stuff falls off, and you must." And then he tells Saru to go dispose of it. And then Saru didn't dispose of it; he kept it. So I don't think anybody else in the tribe would have been able to get hold of that. So
well, no, I agree. I know they couldn't have gotten hold of it. I agree, but my point was that was unfair to then say that Saru was the only one that could program it, that made him special.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, there were definitely some holes there that I wasn't really thinking about, where she did allude to the Prime Directive where they couldn't get involved in pre-warp species.
Right.
However, they are actually getting involved, but they making an exception for Saru, and maybe that exception is because he was able to build this radio, and he asked to be taken.
Right. So, but now here, okay, yes. Now, here's the biggest, even the more bigger problem that I have. Giorgio knows about the Baul.
Mm-hmm.
She mentions the Baul. She says something to the effect that we know that you have that piece of technology, and you're unique that you were able to program it and send us a message. That's why I was able to pull some strings at Starfleet and come out here and get you. So basically, she knows that there's an alien race above the planet or in space that's capturing the Kelpians.
Yeah.
Federation is not concerned about that.
Yeah.
Now,
I see your point.
Now, the Federation, they don't make a practice of lending aid or giving aid to non-Federation planets. But typically, if they see something, and usually it's a warp capable planet, they will extend the first contact, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here they go in under the radar, and if they are that willing to interface just because of Saru being there, you would think that they would broaden their scope and say, you know what, those aliens that are snatching those guys down there, and all of them may be capable of doing what Saru did. Maybe we should put an end to that, or open up some negotiations. And then one more thing.
Yeah.
The shuttlecraft takes off, and Saru's sister sees it. Now, this is why you have the Prime Directive. Saru's sister sees that thing taking off, and Saru is gone. There's a family devastated. What's to say that she doesn't interpret that as the Baul, or they don't know it as Baul, I don't think. Maybe they do. I don't remember. Do the Kelpians know the term Baul, or do they just say great beyond or whatever?
Yeah, I don't remember now. But I think you're wrong about the sister, because they do give you hints that she is aware that he built that thing and he's trying to contact them. I think they show that she's lying, pretending to be asleep and watching him, and so she knows. And in fact, when they walk out together, I think I got the sense that the producers were trying to show that she knew where he was going, and he wanted her to come with, but she didn't want to. She was too scared, but she knew what was going on.
Oh, wait, was there a scene where they were talking about him leaving or something?
No, there wasn't. But it was all unsaid. But because she watched him build the radio and go back and try and communicate, they showed the scenes where she looked at him, but pretending to be asleep. So, and when they walked out together, walked into the forest together, I think she knew that this is where he was going to get picked up.
I thought, again, I saw it twice, and maybe it goes by so fast that I missed these things. I remember seeing a shot where she was asleep. But I just never assumed that she knew what he was doing, that he was trying to communicate. Was there language that indicated that, or?
No, they never spoke about it. It was all unsaid stuff, but I just got the sense that there were some cues in those scenes which told me that she knew, and that's why she actually followed him out there, because it was unusual. Remember, I think she even said it was unusual that they're going out there.
But didn't he give her an excuse, like he was going to look for something or going to get? I can't remember. I seem to recall that he gave her an excuse, and he said, "Well, why don't you just go home now? No need for you to be out here," or something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay." And then we have the scene with Giorgio. They take off, and then we see her looking up. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I just never got the sense that she had a hint that he was going to be leaving.
That's the way I took it. But still, your point about the shuttlecraft being in plain sight is not only could she probably see it, other people may also have seen it and or heard it. So
why wouldn't okay, if I can accept that Starfleet broke all protocol that we've come to know since 1966. Why didn't she just transport down?
True, very true.
Just for the drama of it? Oh, because the name of the episode was The Brightest Star, so they had to do that to stay in, to keep the metaphor going.
Maybe it was something to do with the aliens would have recognized the transporter signature or something. Somehow they masked their descent in the shuttle. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that. Actually, it's interesting.
And I'm gonna say again, this episode, I love the theme of a person. You know, it's basically, I don't know if you saw the 1977 Superman film.
Yes.
The scene in the cornfield where Ma Kent wakes up in the morning, she product places the Cheerios, box of Cheerios, and then looks out the window. If anyone remembers that movie, you know what I'm talking about. And she sees Clark standing off and way in the distance, and in the camera, the crane swoops over the fields of corn stalks, and they have the conversation. He's like, I have to go, Mother. And she's like, I knew this day would come. See, that works. You know? But here it's like, that's not how Star Trek works. You don't just yank one guy.
Yeah.
How do you explain to the family's devastated now?
Right.
You know. So I'm going to tell you that while I liked the setup with, you know, some issues with the bowl, I mean, these short treks, I have to say, this one in particular, is giving me agita over what I saw in the first season in terms of what I was willing to forgive, because I just said the writers haven't told us the whole story yet. We don't know the whole story over 13 episodes. But these short treks are starting to indicate to me that these writers are just, they're not even trying to follow Trek canon, Trek methodology, or Trek modality. Because what I saw last night, what Giorgio did, is completely, that's not Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm really troubled by that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, now that you pointed it out, I was just caught up in the romance of it, but you're right. She broke the Prime Directive, obviously, even though she tries to allude to the fact that she's not really breaking it. But yeah, she did break the Prime Directive. And I think the whole you pointed out for me, where she flies off in a shuttle, where obviously there's aliens there, another species that could probably detect that.
Yeah.
And know what's going on. I mean, I'm sure. How did they not know she had just landed a shuttle down there? I don't know. Yeah, they don't explain that.
And see, I don't really mind that she broke the Prime Directive. I mean, every captain's done that. But it's the way she did it. With no care or thought to what his absence would do to the society. It's not like it's a lot of people down there. You know, it just seemed, I don't know. It just seemed like not what I know to be Star Trek. But
yeah.
So I gotta say, for that reason, I'm a little concerned, and I couldn't accept that. I couldn't accept it. What sold it for me, I'm gonna say, is the same thing that sold what little bit I liked about the Runaways, is the performances. You know, I liked Mary Wiseman's performance as Tilly. The story did nothing for me. Calypso, I wasn't impressed with that at all. But this one, I liked the performances of Doug Jones and his family. But they just trashed everything that I know about Star Trek, and I'm not willing to accept that. Oh well, everything doesn't have to be exactly the same and this and that. Well, no, there are rules set up that have been in place for 50 years.
Yeah, and in fact, at this time, the Prime Directive is already in effect, because I think they come up with a Prime Directive during the Enterprise.
They hint at
series.
It, right? Yeah.
So at this point, I was actually going to say it wasn't fully formed yet, but obviously it is fully formed, because it's happening at the same, just a little bit before the Kirk time.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, maybe if they could show me something where in Enterprise they started talking about the Prime Directive and they decided against it, and in some place down in the future, maybe with season 2, we see them enact the Prime Directive completely. Then maybe I could accept it. But even so, I mean, it's just inhuman to do what Giorgio did.
Although I don't know if it's that bad, because obviously Saru wanted to leave, which is why he was communicating out. And she gave him another choice. She said, "You can go back, or you can come with me." He really did want to go. So
yeah, but
think about that.
I can't I can't speak to anything specific, but I know there have been instances where a Starfleet officer will not do something, even though the person in question wants to do it. I can. Well, I guess she did kind of give in, but Ethics, the TNG episode Ethics, where Worf smashes his spinal cord, and Worf wants Commander Riker to participate in the Klingon ritual of suicide, and he says, "Hell no, I'm not doing that."
Right? Yeah.
It's his right. It's not. It's his culture, but Riker's like, no. And I like that writing that, humans, they try to. We may live into the 24th century. Our thinking may evolve and all this, but we're still human beings. And I'm not going to help you kill yourself. I don't care if that is your culture or not.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So, all right, there you have it. The Brightest Star. What would you give it rating wise? Out of 5.
Oh.
Because when you go to 10 stars, it's like there's so much wiggle room in there.
I'd say 4 out of 5.
Oh wow! Well, you liked it a lot.
Well, I did actually like it a lot. Like I said, I mean, yes, there were some holes in the storyline, but I liked it, and as you said, great acting and just a nice story.
I can't go more than 2.5.
Wow.
Only because it's got to still be Star Trek.
No, I agree. That's why I didn't give it 5 out of 5. But maybe I could go 3.5.
All right.
3.5 because, yeah, I mean 2.5 is a little bit steep.
Stingy.
It's like 50%, right?
Well,
I wanted to go above 50.
It's less than. Yeah, 2.5 would be 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was going to say that I'm still looking forward to the next one, which is about Harry Mudd.
Now it looks like this takes place during his imprisonment on the Klingon ship.
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't get that sense.
No, I don't know. I'm asking. Is that
No.
How did you take it?
I don't know. It was a very, very short little trailer for it, so I didn't get much. But I was glad to see his characters coming back to do something.
So those were Klingons he was dealing with, right? I know he said something like, "Keep your filthy hands off me," or something like that. He says.
Yeah.
So you are. I know our compatriot Big Sexy was not thrilled with seeing Mudd brought back, played by Rainn Wilson, but you liked this portrayal. I take it.
Yeah, I do. Because who could they get to play Harry Mudd at this point? Because the original guy's obviously dead, right? The original actor. I don't know, but.
Kevin James is always looking for work.
But actually, Rainn Wilson is good because he is mad, right?
Yeah.
He's very reckless. When we see Harry Mudd in The Trouble with Tribbles, I think that was the first time we introduced him, right? Or was it the second time?
Or was it I Mudd was the first one?
Well, maybe. He was the same sort of thing. He was crazy, but he was a little bit more bumbling than crazy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I know. Big Sexy pointed out that, and by the way, we should say Big Sexy's not here. We had to leave him behind. He refused to leave Risa. Those 12-finger massages. I mean, come on. But yeah, Big Sexy was not pleased with the more homicidal portrayal of Mudd that we saw. I had no problem with it because I wasn't that invested in the Mudd character.
Yeah, he was only in 2 episodes.
That's true.
So yeah,
here he's more like a evil Lex Luthor type, or a Gordon Gekko type, who's always trying to get over on other people. That was Mudd. That was him in the original series, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. All right, so there you have it. That's our take on the latest Star Trek short trek. What was it called again?
You forgot already?
The Brightest Star.
Yes.
And I just finished my Earl Grey tea. But because, I like to give you guys your money's worth, it took us about, roughly half an hour to discuss that. I found another topic that centers around my favorite version of Star Trek. That's Next Generation. Now, your favorite was original series, right, Craig?
Definitely.
Was there anything that you wanted to comment on? Anything that maybe is in your craw about the original series? Or?
No, it hasn't really been making the news. Although with the character Picard coming back, it would be great to have the character Kirk come back, right?
Yeah.
Let
it go. But I stumbled across this article, Cinema Blend, their television division. Yeah, television division. Okay.
Only one person.
The article is entitled Star Trek, The Next Generation Characters Who Should Return in Picard's New Series. I just wanted to throw these names out. So, number one, they've got Beverly Crusher. Because of the kind of the shared moments between Picard and Crusher and the whole history about Picard leading her husband, Jack Crusher, to his death, and then Picard having a kind of a thing for Beverly Crusher. William Riker. I don't know how that would work because Riker is now captain of the Titan. So yeah. I wonder how they would manage to bring him back, unless Picard somehow winds up on this ship as, I don't know, the old coot. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's decades later, so maybe they've all retired now, and they're coming back for one last mission or something. So yeah, you could get them back, I think.
But it's a whole series. It can't just be one mission, can it?
Well, could be like V'ger, where it was one mission and they suddenly got transported off to the Delta Quadrant and they had to get back. So it became a whole series. But I would like to. What? Did
you say V'ger or Voyager?
Yes, I was being funny.
Okay.
Yeah, no, V'ger. But I would love to see Riker come back. He was a great character. I liked it.
No doubt.
I think they should all come back. I mean, they get the old crew back together, just like they did in the original series. They got the main characters back together for the movies. And,
they got Worf on the list. I mean, yeah, you got to do Worf.
Yeah.
They got Data. I'm surprised he wasn't number one.
Right.
And then they've got Wesley Crusher. As much as I defend him, I wouldn't be upset if he didn't come back.
Right, I would agree with that. Geordi, of course.
Geordi's not on the list. Now, I don't want to say there's any racial machinations going on, because Worf is not really black. Worf is not black.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. I mean, he is, but his character is Klingon. But yeah. Well, right.
And here's another character I could do without Q.
Right.
Ironically, I never really did like that character. I thought he was a good. Just have him be like a plot device. That's like how the Greek chorus would be in the old stories. Greek stories, they would just have the Greek chorus who would set up the plot, and then they would just come in and sing a song and walk off.
Right.
Old Greek theater. That's all I want him to do. I don't want him to be I would not want him to be a major storyline in any new series. I hope he's not.
Yeah, I agree.
First of all, he's supposed to be immortal, and clearly the actor has aged.
Yes.
But how do you do it without Geordi? And Troy, don't you? If you bring back Riker, don't you have to bring back Troy?
I think so. If it was me, I would just bring them all back because they made the show. All of them did, all the main characters, just like they did it with the Star Trek, the original series movies, and in fact the Next Generation movies. They did the same thing too.
But it was a little bit like in First Contact. It was a little kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Forced, the way they got Worf back onto the Enterprise. Because he's not supposed to be the captain of the Defiant. I don't think he ever got that position on DS9.
Right.
But there you have it. If you have, what other characters that I'm not thinking of right now that you would like to see brought back in the Picard series? First of all, I'm just curious. I got to know what the Picard series is all about, first off.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if he is going to be like, I think we speculated that it would be set in the Academy, and he would be like that grizzled old admiral who's keeping the ship afloat, or, keeping the Academy afloat, and he's like kind of mentoring these cadets, not on like the lower decks. I don't see you bringing any of these characters back unless they're like they did Bones in the pilot for Next Generation. If you recall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a little bit of a short away mission, but we had to do it. We had a new short trek, so because we had a short trek, we had a short show.
Makes sense.
People, I feel like I have to put this caveat out there. I can't wait for the new season, but I have to say that I just don't think these short treks are for me. Craig, let me do this. Can you put the short treks in order of which one you like the best and which one you like the least?
Yes. The Brightest Star I liked the most, and the one I liked the least was the first one. Forget its title now.
Runaway.
Yes.
Runaway.
That was just a dumb one. Like I said at the time, the actress that plays Tilly was amazing. Kept her character she was good, but the story was stupid. So that's so.
What did Kirk say? Don't mince words, Bones. Tell me how you really feel. Well, I've said far worse. So, yeah, I would painfully put this. You know what it is. This short trek is kind of how I felt about the finale of season 1 of Discovery. Really good things about it, but just some of the story, the plot, just went so far south. It really kind of soured it for me. So I would put this first. I think I would put Runaway second, and last would be Calypso.
Oh wow! Okay.
Well, because literally nothing happens in Calypso.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. And he's not even part of the Star Trek crew. It's just some random guy.
And it's 1,000 years in the future.
Somehow, yeah.
Yeah. But listen, everyone out there, I just want you to know I'm looking forward to the next season. And just because I haven't really enjoyed any of these short treks doesn't mean I'm not going to be there and supporting Star Trek. I'm going to be paying for it. That's for sure. So
that's right.
Don't hate me. Craig, you don't hate me, do you?
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So there you have it. We will be back. When's the next one?
January the 3rd, did I see? Or January the 6th, something like that.
So early January.
No, sorry. Yeah, that's right. It is.
Okay. All right. How are you liking the CBS All Access experience thus far? I think you said you weren't really happy about it, that they're taking your money.
It's just like any other streaming service, and I don't see any difference. But this ploy of these short treks to get us to carry on paying is what made me annoyed. And as you have pointed out, they're not that good, so it's even more annoying. So,
all right. So before we go, I just want to, there's a programming note that, well, not really a programming note, but I guess kind of an advertisement, although we're not getting paid anything. The first season of Star Trek Discovery is now available on Blu-ray, and you can get it at Walmart, Best Buy, and of course Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble. I was trying to see if there are any special features to this thing. I'm thinking I might get it because once this season is done, the new season of Star Trek Discovery, because I haven't seen any of the episodes since we first watched them.
Mm-hmm.
But I was considering getting the Blu-ray. Would you think about buying this? Because, you're going to get rid of CBS All Access too, and I'd like to be able to watch them at my leisure,
Well, what I've been doing recently, and as we were saying, I haven't turned my Blu-ray player on in about 2 years. So physical media is definitely
2 years.
out of my life. Easily 2 years. I've got a 3D Blu-ray player because I have a 3D TV. I'm still using because it hasn't broken. And I normally just buy things on iTunes. And all the stuff you can get on the Blu-ray, you can get on iTunes. So if the movie comes out with extras, the extras are going to be in your purchase of the movie on iTunes. So I just stream it. You should have a look and see if you can get it on iTunes and buy it that way.
Have you looked on iTunes yet, or do you,
No,
I don't think you can. I'm not. I think I would have checked that. Well, hell, we're right here. I'll go ahead and check it. But in the meantime, there are some bonus features. They've got Discovery, the concepts and casting of Star Trek, Discovery, the Star Trek theme, creature comforts, designing Discovery, creating space, prop me up. These sound like Jeopardy categories, don't they? Feeding Frenzy, A Female Touch, Dress for Success, Star Trek Discovery, The Voyage of Season 1, deleted and extended scenes. Now that is interesting to me. Deleted and extended scenes. Real quick, I'm going to check on iTunes here. I got to tell you, iTunes, I can't stand them anymore.
Why not?
They have managed. iTunes used to be so simple to use, and now it's just the most complicated thing out there.
It's not.
It is.
You search for what you want, it comes up. I mean, what do you want?
Is it really that simple?
It really is. I just
okay.
I'm sitting on my phone, right? I type in Star Trek, and then it shows me Star Trek movies. It shows me Star Trek ringtones.
Okay.
It shows me Star Trek TV shows. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff.
Well, okay. I guess I'm thinking about interfacing with my iPhone or my iPod.
Yeah.
That's got complicated to me.
So all of the episodes are available on iTunes. Yes, but I'm just trying to see if there's actually a season 1 with everything in together. I don't see it yet.
You can buy season 1 for $34.99.
Ah, there we go.
But I don't see any where you get any of the special features or any type of behind the scenes stuff, which is unfortunate. Oh, and let me ask you real quick, since you are the Apple guy, I've been buying a lot. Like I buy Walking Dead because Sal, the truck guy, where things fall off the truck for Big Sexy. The Walking Dead stopped dropping them off the truck for me. So I buy The Walking Dead. I buy Better Call Saul. So literally, you're downloading these when you buy them, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
well, I mean that's actually not a yes. I mean it's a yes maybe because it goes into your Apple account, which is stored in the cloud.
Right.
And so when you hit play, I think it starts downloading it at that time.
It starts downloading at the time. So you have a file on your Apple TV device, or are you just streaming it?
Well, I mean, the Apple TV has got tons of memory, so it could store it locally. But my point is that when you buy something on iTunes, unless I think it's music, I think music is the only thing that automatically downloads. The movies and the TV shows stay in your account.
Right.
It shows that you purchased them, and so when you hit play, it starts streaming them. It actually starts downloading it to whatever device you're watching it on.
I guess what I'm asking is ultimately is that if it does download, I would like to, because I'm sure I would have bought the smaller capacity Apple TV, and because I wasn't expecting that I would ever download games or TV shows or movies,
right?
Which I'm starting to do more and more now because since we cut the cord, if you will, or reduced our cable package, I'm having to buy more shows. If you can delete them off of the Apple TV,
you probably can, but I actually wouldn't know even how to do that. I haven't tried to do that.
Okay. And actually, you know what? There are some features here on iTunes.
I saw 2 of them, actually, and I wasn't sure if it's just maybe stuff that they showed us before or that's just unique.
No, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're not very long. I bet you these are things you could probably see on CBS All Access. They're each like 3 minutes, 2 minutes. But all right, we're going to close shop. Now, Craig, I know you are in command. How much more time am I going to be confined to quarters?
Well, I would say at least to the 31st of December.
Huh? Now, having said that, we know how lame Star Trek security is, right? Starfleet security is.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk out of there and just wave my hand and the wind would knock them both down. I will follow the commander's orders. I know Big Sexy's going to eat his heart out when he knows that he missed the away mission where I was confined to quarters. I'll let you and him battle it out like a muck time for the next person to sit in the captain's chair. But all right, people. So hope you enjoyed the show. We got the next Star Trek short trek coming out. We believe it's the last one. Until that time, check us out on Facebook under Red Shirts, the Star Trek Podcast. You can download us on iTunes and subscribe to us, please. Leave us some feedback. You can check us out on Instagram. I gave up Tumblr. Plus, Tumblr, they had some controversy, I think, earlier this week or last week. So I'm done with that. And check us out on YouTube. I try to put up all of our broadcasts or podcasts on YouTube as well. Any last words, Commander?
Well, I would say we should maybe just tell people where they can find us individually, and maybe let people know what else we're working on. So you can find me on Twitter at iBanyan. That's I for India, and then the banyan tree. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm actually host another podcast called Apple Time Warp, where I team up with game god John Romero, who created Doom.
Wow.
And we talk about, and we will have guests that talk about their time developing old Apple II games. Because like me, John Romero started programming on the Apple II.
Okay.
So for those of you who don't know, Apple II was the first personal computer, and they really kicked off the personal computer genre.
Was the Apple II what was going to be the Lisa, or...
No. The Apple II was a machine on its own, and the Lisa was a product which didn't sell because it was too expensive, and they basically stripped down the Lisa to make the Macintosh.
Oh, okay. Right.
So that's how that. But anyway, the Apple II was the very first personal computer. You plugged it into a TV. It had its own keyboard and storage, and that kicked off the whole home computer gaming industry. Because then, of course, everybody could make games. And then later on came the Commodore 64 and all the other ones, but the Apple II was the first. And just like many other things Apple has done first and changed our lives. And so we like to remember that. Remember that computer. It was very, very important. And so that's what I'm up to these days. And the episode I'm busy editing is an interview that John did with Jordan Mechner, who made Karateka and Prince of Persia, amongst a bunch of other things. So very, very cool stuff. So go find it on iTunes. It's called Apple Time Warp. And where can we find you, Mike?
Well, the fact that, that we're admitting that we have side gigs outside of Starfleet. But, okay, I have a couple side gigs, too. So,
all right.
You can find me at, you can find me on the realqstorm.com. That's REELQSTORM.com. I've let that site go a little dormant because movies suck so bad. I haven't felt like reviewing anything.
Wow. Okay.
The last one I reviewed was Mission Impossible 6.
Wow.
And you can also find me. You can find me doing phaser duty, if you will, under lwagarms.com. LWAGARMS.com. It is a YouTube page devoted to firearms, but basically firearm safety and responsibility. No Wyatt Earps here. No need to worry.
Very good. The other thing that we should tell people about is the documentary you and I are working on, because that's an important thing. That's the other thing that takes our time is the documentary.
Go right ahead.
The documentary is about a radio station that took on the South African apartheid government in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And so Mike and I are busy telling that story. It's taking us many, many years, but we really do have day jobs, so we do these things in our spare time. So that's a cool project we're working on.
Very cool, very cool. And since you brought that up, I know we said we were gonna head out, but I know you've told your story a couple times, but if you want to hear the best story ever about how someone came to become a Star Trek fan, I highly recommend you go back into the archives, go to the very first episode that we ever did, where we talked about the making. It was called The Making of a Star Trek Fan, and Craig goes into the story that it's like, wow. And it involves his time in South Africa as a kid, and during the apartheid government, and it's a fascinating story. So
It is. It's a fun story, yeah.
very well fun. Okay.
Well, no, maybe not fun, but it's a fascinating way of somebody coming into Star Trek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think you would agree. It gives you an appreciation of how we can enjoy what we have here in the United States.
Yes, absolutely. It really does.
Even though we are now being led by an absolute moron. Anyway.
Luckily, he's not a dictator, so he only has limited damage.
Okay.
The shields are up.
Yes, or whole plating at least.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, we're done. We're out of here. See you later, guys.
Bye.
I don't know. I don't know if Khan put an ear. What are those set of alpha ear? Let me pick that up. Okay, let's pause for a second. Do I hear Gracie in the background?
You're hearing a cat. Yes.
Oh! I thought
No,
Gracie
it's
was going. Okay.
Gabrielle.
Oh, why do I keep calling her Gracie?
I don't know. But yeah, that's one of the cats.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, she hasn't seen me all day or something. I don't know what it is.
So let's pick up. Because Star Trek Discovery came out on Blu-ray, didn't it?
Hell, I don't know. I don't even look for Blu-rays anymore. I have a Blu-ray player, but I don't know. Haven't turned it on in like 2 years or something.
Red Shirts is not endorsed by Paramount Pictures, Viacom, or CBS. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Star Trek, the Star Trek logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Star Trek characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.